The stars looked peaceful from the bridge of the Pathfinder. Captain Jake Morrison stood near the main window, watching distant suns twinkle in the darkness. His ship moved slowly through space, carrying a crew of 30 humans on another peaceful mission to meet new alien friends. Jake had been doing this job for 5 years now. Every time was the same but different. They would find a new planet with smart aliens, talk to them, and try to become friends. Sometimes the aliens were scared, sometimes they were excited. But Jake and his crew always stayed calm and friendly. "Captain, we are getting close to the planet," said Lisa Park from her chair at the navigation controls. She was young but very good at her job. Her fingers moved quickly over the blue lights on her control panel. "Thank you, Lisa." "How long until we reach them?" Jake asked. "About 2 hours, sir." Jake nodded and walked to his captain's chair. Around him, the bridge was quiet except for the soft sounds of the ship's computers. Amy Carter sat at the communications station, listening for any messages from the planet below. Pete Collins was checking the ship's engines from his engineering station. The Pathfinder was not a warship. It had no big guns or shields for fighting. Instead, it carried gifts, translation computers, and peaceful people who wanted to make friends across the galaxy. This was what humans did now. They helped other alien races talk to each other and solve problems without fighting. "Captain Morrison," Amy said, turning around in her chair, "I am getting signals from the planet. They know we are here." "Good. Are they talking to us?" "Not yet, sir. But they are talking to each other a lot. The computer is trying to understand their language." Jake smiled. This was always exciting, meeting new people, even if they looked very different from humans. In the past 5 years, humans had met over 50 different alien races. Some looked like big cats, others like flying birds, and some like walking trees. All of them were now friends with humans and part of the big Galactic Federation. The Federation was like a club for different alien races. They helped each other, traded goods, and promised not to fight. Humans had joined the Federation 20 years ago, and now other aliens often asked humans to help solve problems. Humans were good at making peace between angry alien groups. "Sir, the translation computer is ready," Amy reported. "I can try to talk to them now." "Do it. Send them our standard greeting message." Amy pressed some buttons and the message went out to the planet. It was simple and friendly, explaining that humans came in peace and wanted to meet them and be friends. While they waited for an answer, Jake thought about his last mission. 3 months ago, his ship had helped 2 alien races stop fighting over a small moon. The Kethri people thought the moon belonged to them, but the Valor said it was theirs first. Both sides had been ready to start shooting at each other. Jake and his crew had spent 2 weeks talking to both sides. They found out that the moon had old ruins from a 3rd alien race that was gone now. Instead of fighting, the Kethri and Valor decided to study the ruins together and share what they found. Everyone was happy, and no one got hurt. This was what humans did best. They listened, they stayed calm, and they helped others find good solutions. Other aliens called humans the gentle giants because humans were big and strong but always chose peace over fighting. "Captain, we have an answer," Amy said, looking excited. "Put it on the main screen." The front window changed to show an alien face. The creature looked like a big lizard with red scales and yellow eyes. It had sharp teeth and a long snout. When it spoke, the computer changed its words into human language. "I am Commander Vex High Mordock of the 3rd Expansion Fleet. You are in Vex High space. State your purpose or be destroyed." The bridge went quiet. This was not the usual first meeting. Most aliens were curious or careful when they met humans for the first time, but this HFY sounded angry and dangerous. Jake stood up and moved to the front of the bridge. "I am Captain Jake Morrison of the human ship Pathfinder. We come in peace and represent the Galactic Federation. We would like to talk with your leaders about friendship and trade." The alien's yellow eyes got smaller. "Friendship. Trade. You weak mammals think you can demand anything from the mighty HFY Empire? We take what we want. We do not ask permission from inferior races." Pete Collins looked up from his station with wide eyes. Lisa stopped working and stared at the screen. Amy's mouth fell open. In 20 years of humans meeting new aliens, no one had ever called humans inferior or weak. Jake kept his voice calm and friendly. "I think there has been a misunderstanding. We do not demand anything. We simply offer friendship. Many races have found it useful to work together and help each other." The HFY commander laughed, showing all his sharp teeth. "Help each other? The strong do not need help from the weak. The HFY Empire conquers 12 star systems. We have destroyed 7 inferior races who tried to resist us. You mammals would make good slaves if you are lucky." "Slaves?" Jake said, still trying to stay calm. "The Galactic Federation does not allow slavery. All intelligent races are free and equal. Your Federation means nothing to us. We take what we want and kill those who try to stop us. That is the way of the HFY. That is why we rule the stars." The signal ended, and the screen went back to showing empty space. The bridge was very quiet. Everyone looked at each other with worried faces. "Captain," Lisa said softly, "what do we do now?" Jake sat back down in his chair and thought carefully. In all his years of peaceful missions, he had never met aliens like these HFY. They seemed to think that being strong meant they could hurt others and take whatever they wanted. "Send a message to Earth," Jake said finally. "Tell them we have found a new alien race called the HFY. They are not interested in peace or joining the Federation. Also tell them that these aliens think humans are weak and talk about slavery." "Yes, sir," Amy said, starting to type the message. "And Amy," Jake added, "tell Earth that we are going to keep trying to talk to them. Maybe their leaders will be more reasonable than this commander." As the Pathfinder continued toward the HFY planet, Jake looked out at the stars again. They still looked peaceful, but something had changed. For the first time in his career, Jake wondered if peace would be enough. 2 days passed as the Pathfinder waited near the HFY homeworld. Jake had sent 3 more peaceful messages, but the aliens kept giving the same angry answers. They called humans weak and stupid. They said the HFY Empire would never talk to inferior races as equals. "Captain, we are getting a new message," Amy said from her station. "But this time it is coming from a much bigger ship." "Show me," Jake ordered. The main screen lit up with the image of a massive HFY warship. It was 10 times bigger than the Pathfinder and covered with weapon systems. On the screen appeared a HFY who looked different from the others. His red scales were darker, and he wore golden armor with strange symbols. "I am Supreme Commander Zarthok of the HFY Imperial Fleet," the alien said. His voice was deep and threatening. "You mammals have been in our space for 2 days without permission. This is an insult to the Empire." Jake stepped forward. "Supreme Commander, I am Captain Morrison. We have been trying to establish peaceful contact with your people. We represent over 200 different races in the Galactic Federation, all working together for peace and prosperity." Zarthok's yellow eyes seemed to glow with anger. "Peace? Prosperity? These are words for the weak. The HFY Empire understands only strength and conquest. We have crushed every race that stood in our way. Perhaps there is another way, Jake said carefully. Working together, races can achieve much more than fighting alone. The Federation has brought peace to thousands of worlds. Your Federation sounds like a gathering of cowards, Zarthok replied with disgust. Tell me, human, how many worlds has your species conquered? How many enemies have you destroyed completely? Jake was quiet for a moment. The truth was that humans had not conquered any worlds or destroyed any enemies since joining the Federation. They had found that making friends was better than making war. Humans prefer to build rather than destroy, Jake said finally. We have helped create new colonies, stopped wars between other races, and saved millions of lives through medical aid and disaster relief. Zarthok laughed loudly. The sound was harsh and cruel. Building, saving lives, you are exactly what I thought. A race of weaklings who hide behind pretty words. The strong take what they want. The weak serve or die. Strength is not just about fighting, Jake said, trying to keep his voice calm. True strength is helping others and working together. Foolish mammal, Zarthok roared. I will show you real strength. The HFY Empire has decided that your Federation needs to learn respect for their betters. What do you mean? Jake asked, feeling worried for the first time. Zarthok's smile showed all his sharp teeth. Your human race claims to represent this Federation. Therefore, you will pay tribute to show your submission to the HFY Empire. Tribute? Yes. You will give us 3 of your colony worlds. The planets you call New Boston, Haven's Rest, and Cedar Point. You will remove all humans from these worlds within 30 of your standard days. Then these worlds will belong to the HFY Empire. The bridge of the Pathfinder went completely silent. Everyone stared at the screen in shock. Pete Collins dropped the tool he was holding. Lisa's face went white. Amy's hands stopped moving. Over her controls. Supreme Commander, Jake said slowly, those 3 worlds are home to over 50 million human civilians. We cannot simply abandon our people. Then they will become HFY slaves, Zarthok said with no emotion. Or they will die. We do not care which. You have 30 days to decide. This is impossible, Jake said, his calm voice finally showing some strain. The Galactic Federation will never agree to give up member worlds to an aggressive empire. Then, the Federation will learn what happens when inferior races refuse to obey their superiors, Zarthok replied. We have conquered 12 star systems, human. We have wiped out 7 complete alien races who thought they could resist us. Your Federation will be next if you do not show proper respect. Jake took a deep breath. Supreme Commander, please reconsider. There must be another way to resolve this. Perhaps we could arrange a meeting between your leaders and the Federation Council. Maybe we could work out some kind of trade agreement that benefits both our peoples. The time for talk is over, Zarthok said firmly. You have heard our demand. 30 days. Remove your people from those 3 worlds, or we will remove them ourselves. And human, we will not be gentle about it. The screen went dark. The bridge stayed quiet for a long minute. Finally, Pete Collins spoke up. Captain, they cannot be serious. No one has demanded tribute from Federation worlds in over 40 years. They sounded very serious to me, Amy said quietly. Lisa looked up from her navigation station. Captain, should we leave their space? They might attack us. Jake thought about this. The Pathfinder had no weapons and could not fight the massive HFY warship. but running away felt wrong somehow. "No," he said finally. "We will stay, and keep trying to talk to them. Maybe their supreme commander is not the only one who makes decisions for their empire." "But, sir," Pete said, "what if they decide to destroy us?" Jake looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there were 3 human colony worlds with 50 million people who had no idea what was happening. They were farmers, teachers, doctors, and children who just wanted to live their lives in peace. "Send a priority message to Earth," Jake ordered. "Tell Admiral Sullivan everything that just happened. Tell her about the 30-day ultimatum and the threat to our colonies." "What should we do while we wait for orders?" Amy asked. "We keep trying to find reasonable Vex-Hi to talk to," Jake said. "There must be someone in their empire who understands that cooperation is better than conquest." But even as he said it, Jake was not sure he believed it. The Vex-Hi seemed different from every other alien race humans had met. They acted like they thought strength only came from hurting others and taking what they wanted. For the first time since becoming captain, Jake wondered if peaceful words would be enough to solve this problem. The Vex-Hi did not seem to care about fairness or friendship. They only seemed to understand power. As the Pathfinder continued its lonely orbit around the Vex-Hi home world, Jake made a decision. He would keep trying for peace as long as possible, but he would also make sure Earth knew exactly what kind of aliens they were dealing with. The Vex-Hi had called humans weak. They had demanded tribute from human colonies. They had threatened to enslave or kill millions of innocent people. Jake had a feeling that Supreme Commander Zarthok was about to learn something important about humans. Something about what happened when peaceful people were pushed too far. The emergency meeting room in the Federation building on Earth was full of worried faces. Admiral Kate Sullivan sat at the head of the long table, reading Captain Morrison's report for the 3rd time. Around her sat the most important people, in human government and military. 30 days, said President Ryan Cooper, shaking his head. They want us to abandon 3 colony worlds in 30 days, or they will take them by force. Have we ever faced a demand like this before? Asked General Frank Adams, the head of Earth's defense forces. Never, Admiral Sullivan replied. In 20 years of Federation membership, no alien race has ever threatened human colonies or demanded tribute. Most races want to trade with us, or ask for our help with peacekeeping. Dr. Susan Wright, the Federation's top expert on alien cultures, looked up from her computer tablet. I have been studying what little we know about the Vex-Hi Empire. They appear to be a militaristic society that has conquered 12 star systems through warfare. They seem to believe that might makes right. What about the races they say they destroyed completely? President Cooper asked. Dr. Wright's face was grim. The computer records show 7 alien races that used to exist in that region of space. The Helnri, the Takway, the Mortian, and 4 others. All of their worlds are now listed as uninhabited. No survivors have ever been found. The room went quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. The Vex-Hi had not just defeated these races. Invar. They had killed every single member of 7 different alien species. How big is their military? General Adams asked. Admiral Sullivan activated a holographic display above the table. It showed the known Vex-Hi territory, 12 star systems, with hundreds of planets and space stations. Based on Captain Morrison's report and our long-range sensors, they have at least 3,000 warships. Many of them are larger and more heavily armed than anything in the Federation fleet. President Cooper leaned back in his chair. What about the Federation Council? Have they been told about this situation? I contacted them 2 hours ago, Admiral, Sullivan said. They are calling an emergency session, but sir, we need to understand something. The HFY specifically demanded human colony worlds. They are testing us, not the entire Federation. What do you mean? Asked Dr. Wright. Think about it, the Admiral explained. They could have demanded tribute from any Federation member, but they chose human worlds. They want to see if the gentle giants will fight to protect their people. General Adams nodded slowly. It makes sense. Humans have a reputation for being peaceful negotiators. If they can force us to abandon our colonies without a fight, it will show every other Federation race that the HFY Empire is stronger than human protection. And if other races see that humans cannot protect even their own people, President Cooper said, understanding, they might decide to surrender to the HFY before being attacked. Dr. Wright looked worried. There is something else we need to consider. The 3 colonies they demanded are all on the edge of Federation space. If the HFY take control of New Boston, Haven's Rest, and Cedar Point, they will have bases right next to our major trade routes. Admiral Sullivan brought up another holographic display showing the location of the 3 colonies. Dr. Wright is correct. From those worlds, HFY fleets could strike at the heart of Federation territory. This is not just about tribute. This is about strategic positioning for a larger invasion. So we are not just talking about saving 3 colonies, President Cooper said. We are talking about stopping an invasion of the entire Federation. Yes, sir. President Cooper stood up and walked to the large window that looked out over Earth's capital city. Millions of people lived and worked down there, going about their daily lives. They had no idea that an alien empire was threatening to destroy everything humans had built over the past 20 years. What are our options? He asked without turning around. General Adams cleared his throat. Option 1. We evacuate the 3 colonies as demanded. This saves the 50 million people living there, but it shows weakness and invites further aggression. Option 2, the President asked. We reinforce the colonies with Federation fleets and dare the HFY to attack. This shows strength, but it might start a war we are not ready for. Option 3, Admiral Sullivan answered this time. We negotiate. We offer the HFY something else in exchange for leaving our colonies alone. Trade rights, technology, or other concessions. President Cooper turned around. And option 4? The room was quiet. Everyone knew what option 4 was, but no one wanted to say it out loud. Finally, Dr. Wright spoke. Option 4 is to treat this as an act of war and respond accordingly. You mean attack them first, President Cooper said. Yes, sir, President. Cooper sat back down. Admiral Sullivan, if we chose option 4, what would be our chances of success? The Admiral was quiet for a moment, thinking carefully. Sir, the HFY have more ships than we do, but human technology is more advanced in several areas. Our ships are faster, our weapons are more accurate, and our shields are stronger. The main problem is that we have never fought a war of total extermination, explain. Human military doctrine focuses on winning battles and forcing enemies to surrender. We try to minimize casualties and preserve as much as possible. The HFY, based on what we know, fight to completely destroy their enemies. They do not take prisoners or accept surrender. General Adams nodded. It would be a very different kind of war than anything we have prepared for. President Cooper looked around the table at each person. I want everyone to understand something. Those 3 colonies contain 50 million human citizens. They include farmers, teachers, doctors, and children. They are not soldiers, and they did not choose this fight. Yes, sir, everyone said together. I also want everyone to understand that giving in to the HFY demands will not save those people in the long run. If we surrender 3 colonies, now they will demand more later. Eventually, they will want Earth itself. Dr. Wright leaned forward. Mr. President, there is one more thing we need to consider. If we fight the Vex-High and lose, humanity could end up like those 7 extinct races. The Vex-High do not seem to believe in partial victories. And if we do not fight, President Cooper replied, we condemn not just our 3 colonies, but probably the entire Federation to slavery or death. The room was quiet again. Everyone understood the choice they faced. It was not really a choice between war and peace. It was a choice between fighting now or fighting later when the Vex-High were even stronger. How long until the Federation Council makes a decision? President Cooper asked. 2 days, Admiral Sullivan replied. And how long until the Vex-High ultimatum expires? 27 days. President Cooper stood up again. Admiral Sullivan, I want you to begin quiet preparations for all 4 options. Do not take any action that would provoke the Vex-High, but make sure we are ready for whatever the Federation Council decides. Yes, sir. And, Admiral, send a message to Governor Blake on New Boston, Governor Martinez on Haven's Rest, and Governor Thompson on Cedar Point. Tell them what is happening, but tell them to keep their people calm. We are not abandoning them. As the meeting ended and people began to leave, President Cooper remained standing at the window. Somewhere out in space, Captain Morrison was still trying to find a peaceful solution. But deep down, President Cooper had a feeling that the time for peaceful solutions was already over. The Vex-High had made a serious mistake. They had threatened human children and demanded that humans abandon their own people. They thought humans were weak because humans chose. Peace. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Governor Helen Blake stood on the observation deck of New Boston's main space station, looking down at the planet below. The world was beautiful, with green continents and blue oceans that reminded her of Earth. 50,000 people lived in the cities and farms scattered across the surface. Most of them still did not know about the Vex-High ultimatum. Governor, we are getting another message from the Vex-High fleet, said Deputy Governor Carl Murphy, walking up behind her. His face was tired and worried. For the past week, he had been helping to plan what to do if the alien empire attacked. What do they want now? Helen asked. They are demanding that we start evacuating immediately. They say waiting until the last minute will not be acceptable. Helen shook her head. Tell them the same thing we told them yesterday. New Boston is a human colony, and we do not take orders from alien empires. Carl looked uncomfortable. Governor, maybe we should at least think about partial evacuation. We could move the children and elderly to safer worlds. No, Helen said firmly. The moment we start evacuating, we admit that we are abandoning this world. I will not give the Vex-High the satisfaction of seeing us run in fear. Down on the planet's surface, life continued as normally as possible. In the capital city of New Boston, people went to work, children attended school, and families gathered for dinner. But everyone could feel the tension in the air. The news broadcasts talked carefully about diplomatic difficulties with a new alien race, but rumors spread quickly in a small colony. Dr. Rachel Green worked at the main hospital in the children's wing. She had been a doctor for 15 years and had treated everything from broken bones to rare alien diseases. But today, as she checked on her young patients, she felt a fear she had never experienced before. Dr. Green, said Nurse Linda Scott, approaching with a worried expression, the government just sent out new instructions for all hospitals. They want us to be prepared for large numbers of casualties. What kind of casualties? Rachel asked. They did not say specifically, but they are asking us to stock up on burn treatments and surgical supplies. Rachel felt her stomach drop. Burns and surgery meant weapons. It meant war. In the farming communities outside the city, people tried to focus on their work. Tom Wilson had been growing food on New Boston for 8 years. His farm produced enough vegetables to feed 3,000 people. He had never owned a weapon and had never thought about fighting. But today, Tom stood in his barn, cleaning an old hunting rifle that had belonged to his grandfather. He did not know if it would be useful against alien invaders, but it made him feel slightly better to hold it. "Dad, what are you doing?" asked his 12-year-old daughter, Emma. "Just cleaning this old gun, sweetheart. Are the bad aliens really coming here?" Tom looked at his daughter's innocent face and felt anger growing in his chest. Emma had been born on New Boston. This was the only home she had ever known. The idea that aliens might hurt her because humans refused to surrender made him want to fight, even though he had never been violent in his life. "I do not know, Emma. But if they do come, there are a lot of good people who will protect us." 23 days remained until the Vex-High ultimatum expired. On Earth, the Federation Council had voted unanimously to reject the alien demands. President Cooper had addressed the galaxy, stating that the Federation would never abandon member worlds to aggressive empires. The Vex-High response had been swift and terrifying. Supreme Commander Zarthok had broadcast a message across all Federation channels, showing images of the 7 extinct alien races that had tried to resist the Vex-High Empire. The images showed burned worlds, destroyed cities, and empty planets where millions of intelligent beings had once lived. "Your Federation does not seem to understand the power of the Vex-High Empire," Zarthok had said in the broadcast. "We will provide a demonstration." Now, long-range sensors showed that a massive Vex-High fleet was moving toward New Boston. 150 warships, each larger than anything in the human fleet. They would arrive in 3 days. On New Boston, Governor Blake called an emergency meeting of all the colony's leaders. In the conference room sat mayors from every city, chiefs of police, heads of hospitals, and commanders of the small colonial defense force. "We all know why we are here," Helen said. "The Vex-High fleet will arrive in 3 days. Earth has promised that Federation reinforcements are coming, but they will not arrive in time to stop the initial attack." Police Chief Dan Roberts raised his hand. "Governor, what exactly are our orders if the Vex-High start bombing civilian areas?" Helen took a deep breath. "Our orders are to protect as many people as possible and resist any attempts at invasion. We are not evacuating and we are not surrendering." "Governor," said Dr. Green from the hospital, "with respect, we are talking about 150 alien warships against our 6 defense satellites and 2 patrol ships. How can we possibly resist?" "The same way humans have always resisted bullies," Helen replied. "We make it cost them more than they expected." Mayor Kevin Price from the largest city looked worried. "What about the children? Surely we can at least move them to underground shelters." "Yes," Helen agreed. "All children, elderly, and non-essential personnel should be moved to the underground emergency shelters. But we are not leaving the planet." Over the next 3 days, New Boston prepared for war. Hospitals moved their equipment underground. Police and colonial defense forces practiced emergency procedures. Citizens who had never held weapons learned how to use them. But most importantly, the people of New Boston sent messages to Earth and the other human colonies. They wanted everyone to know that they were not afraid and they were not running away. "This is Tom Wilson, calling from New Boston Colony," said one message that became famous across human space. "My family has lived here for 8 years. We built a good life here, and we are not giving it up to some alien bullies. If these Vex-High want our world, They are going to have to take it from us. Similar messages came from thousands of colonists. Teachers, farmers, doctors, and shopkeepers all saying the same thing. They would not abandon their homes without a fight. On the final day, as Vex-High ships appeared in the sky above New Boston, Governor Blake made one last broadcast to the galaxy. This is Governor Helen Blake of New Boston Colony. In a few hours, the Vex-High Empire will attack our world because we refused to surrender to their demands. We want every human in the galaxy to know that we are proud to be human, and we are proud to stand with the Federation. We will not give in to threats, and we will not abandon our principles. She paused, looking directly into the camera. To the Vex-High Empire, we say this. You think humans are weak because we choose peace. You are about to learn that peaceful people can be the most dangerous when you threaten their families. As the broadcast ended, the first Vex-High ships began their attack. Energy beams struck the planet's surface, targeting cities, hospitals, and schools. The aliens were not trying to conquer New Boston. They were trying to destroy it completely as an example to the rest of the Federation. But as the orbital bombardment began, something unexpected happened. Instead of running in panic, the people of New Boston fought back with everything they had. Colonial defense satellites fired their small weapons at the massive alien ships. Police officers and armed citizens shot at Vex-High landing craft with hunting rifles and pistols. It was hopeless, and everyone knew it. But they fought anyway. The last transmission from New Boston came from Deputy Governor Carl Murphy. He was hiding in a school building with 24 children, trying to protect them from the falling debris of Vex-High bombs. This is Carl Murphy on New Boston. The Vex-High are bombing civilian targets, including schools and hospitals. We need immediate help. The children. They are targeting the children specifically. The transmission cut off as the school building collapsed. Within hours, New Boston was a burning ruin. 50,000 people were dead, including men, women, and children who had never hurt anyone. But across human space, every person who saw the broadcasts of New Boston's destruction felt something change inside them. The Vex-High had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. They had killed human children on purpose. They had targeted schools and hospitals. They had destroyed an entire colony to make a point about their power. Supreme Commander Zarthok's final message to Earth was simple. This is what happens to races that defy the Vex-High Empire. Haven's Rest and Cedar Point have 7 days to evacuate, or they will share the same fate. But Zarthok had made a terrible mistake. He thought destroying New Boston would make humans afraid. Instead, he had made them angry. President Ryan Cooper stood in the Situation Room deep beneath the Federation building, watching the last recordings from New Boston play on the main screen. Around him, military leaders and government officials sat in complete silence. The images showed burning cities, destroyed hospitals, and the scattered remains of what had once been a thriving human colony. "Turn it off," Cooper said quietly. The screen went dark. For a long moment, no one spoke. Finally, Admiral Kate Sullivan broke the silence. "Mr. President, we have confirmation that all 50,000 colonists on New Boston are dead. The Vex-High used focused orbital bombardment to destroy every population center on the planet. No survivors have been found." "What about our defensive satellites and patrol ships?" asked General Frank Adams. "Destroyed within the first hour," the Admiral replied. "The colonists fought with everything they had, but they were completely outgunned." Doctor Susan Wright looked up from her computer tablet, her face pale. Mr. President, I have been analyzing the Vex-High attack patterns. They specifically targeted schools, hospitals, and residential areas first. They were not trying to conquer New Boston. They were trying to kill as many civilians as possible. President Cooper walked to the wall where a large map showed all human colonies scattered across Federation space. Each world was marked with a small blue dot representing millions of human lives. "Show me the response from the Federation Council," he said. Admiral Sullivan activated another screen. The Council voted unanimously to authorize any and all military action against the Vex-High Empire. They have also promised full support from all member races. And the response from our own colonies? This time, General Adams answered, "Sir, every single human colony world has volunteered their militia forces for military service. Additionally, over 2 million civilians from Earth have enlisted in the past 24 hours. The recruitment centers cannot process applications fast enough." President Cooper nodded slowly. "What about our diplomatic missions?" "All recalled," Admiral Sullivan said. "Captain Morrison and the Pathfinder are returning to Earth at maximum speed. We have also withdrawn all human ambassadors from neutral systems until further notice." Dr. Wright cleared her throat. "Mr. President, there is something else. The destruction of New Boston has had an unexpected effect on other Federation races. The Kethri Republic has offered to lend us their entire fleet. The Valor Confederation is contributing their best weapons technology. Even races that we barely know are sending support." "Why?" Cooper asked. "Because everyone understands what the Vex-High represent," she explained. "If they can destroy a human colony and get away with it, no Federation world is safe. This is not just about humanity anymore. This is about whether the Federation will continue to exist." President Cooper turned around to face the room. His expression was different than anyone had ever seen before. The man who had spent 5 years working for peace across the galaxy looked like he was ready for war. "Admiral Sullivan, I want a full mobilization of all human military forces. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier we have." "Yes, sir." "What about our current deployment?" "Recall everything. I want our entire fleet concentrated for a single purpose." General Adams leaned forward. "Sir, what exactly are our orders regarding the Vex-High Empire?" President Cooper was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was calm but filled with cold determination. "The Vex-High Empire has declared war on humanity by attacking New Boston. They have murdered 50,000 innocent civilians, including children. They have threatened to do the same to Haven's Rest and Cedar Point unless we surrender to their demands." He walked back to the map of human colonies. "They think they can terrorize us into submission by showing how ruthlessly they can kill. They believe that destroying one colony will make us abandon the others." "And our response, sir?" Admiral Sullivan asked. President Cooper pointed to the map showing Vex-High territory. 12 star systems controlled by the alien empire. "Our response will be simple and complete. The Vex-High Empire will cease to exist." The room went very quiet. Everyone understood what the president was saying, but no one had expected it to be stated so directly. "Sir," Dr. Wright said carefully, "are you talking about total war?" "I am talking about the complete elimination of the Vex-High Empire as a political and military entity," Cooper replied. "They have shown us that they do not understand negotiation, compromise, or mercy. They only understand total destruction. We will speak to them in the only language they comprehend." General Adams looked worried. "Mr. President, total war against an empire of 12 star systems will require resources we have never used before. We would need to mobilize not just our military but our entire civilization, then that is what we will do. Admiral Sullivan activated her computer tablet and began typing quickly. Sir, if we are planning a campaign of this scope, we will need to completely restructure our military doctrine. Human forces have been designed for peacekeeping and limited conflicts, not wars of extermination. Change the doctrine, Cooper said simply. Sir, what about civilian evacuation from our remaining colonies? Asked General Adams. President Cooper shook his head. No evacuations. The moment we start moving people away from Haven's Rest and Cedar Point, we send a message that we expect to lose. Instead, we reinforce those colonies with everything we have. Dr. Wright looked up from her computer. Mr. President, I feel I should point out that this approach carries enormous risks. If we commit all our resources to fighting the Vex High and lose, humanity could end up extinct like the 7 races they destroyed before us. Dr. Wright, Cooper replied, if we do not commit all our resources to fighting the Vex High, humanity will definitely end up extinct. The only difference is whether it happens now or later. Admiral Sullivan stood up. Mr. President, if you are serious about total mobilization, I need authorization to begin converting civilian ships to military use. We will also need to start producing weapons and supplies at wartime levels. You have full authorization. Whatever you need, take it. What about the other Federation races? General Adams asked. They can help if they want, Cooper said, but this is a human responsibility. The Vex High attacked humans because they thought we were weak. We will show them exactly how wrong they were. He walked to the window that looked out over Earth's capital city. Below, millions of people were going about their daily lives, but everything was about to change. Admiral Sullivan, I want you to send a message to every human world, every ship, and every person in our space. Tell them what happened to New Boston. Tell them about the children who died. Tell them that the Vex High Empire thinks humans are too weak to fight back. What should the message say we are going to do about it? President Cooper turned back to face the room. Tell them that humanity is going to war. Not a limited conflict, not a police action, but total war. Tell them that we are going to fight until every Vex High ship is destroyed, every Vex High world is conquered, and every member of their empire is either dead or surrendering unconditionally. The room was silent again. This was not the same man, who had spent years working for peaceful solutions to galactic problems. The Vex High had killed human children, and something fundamental had changed in humanity's leadership. And Admiral, Cooper added, send one more message to Supreme Commander Zarthok. What should it say, sir? President Cooper's expression was cold as ice. Tell him that he wanted to see human strength. Tell him that he is about to get his wish. And tell him that the Vex High Empire has exactly 0 days to exist before humanity comes for them. As the meeting ended and people began to leave to start the largest military mobilization in human history, President Cooper remained standing at the window. Somewhere out in space, the Vex High Empire was celebrating their victory over New Boston. They had no idea that they had just signed their own death warrant. Humanity was no longer interested in peace with the Vex High Empire. Humanity was interested in revenge. 6 months had passed since the destruction of New Boston, and the galaxy had never seen anything like what humanity became. Admiral Tony Rivera stood on the bridge of the battleship Vengeance, looking at the holographic display that showed 12 Vex High star systems. Each system was marked with red indicators showing massive alien fleets and fortified worlds. Admiral, all strike groups report ready for simultaneous attack, said Captain Beth Lucas from the communications station. Around her, the bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency. These were not the same peaceful humans who had once focused on diplomatic missions. These were warriors created by the murder of 50,000 innocent people. "How many ships do we have?" "In total?" Rivera asked. 2,500 Federation vessels, sir. 1,500 of those are human ships that have been converted or built in the past 6 months. The rest are contributed by our Federation allies. Rivera nodded. When President Cooper had declared total war on the HFY Empire, every human civilian transport, cargo ship, and passenger liner had been called to military service. Massive shipyards that once built peaceful trading vessels now worked around the clock producing weapons of war. "What about the biological weapons?" Rivera asked quietly. Dr. Susan Wright, now serving as the fleet's xenobiology specialist, looked up from her science station. "The pathogen is ready for deployment, Admiral. It has been specifically designed to target HFY physiology. It will be harmless to all other known alien races, but lethal to the HFY within hours of exposure. And it will spread through their atmospheric systems?" "Yes, sir. Once released on a planet's surface, it will be carried by air currents to cover the entire world within days. Any HFY who breathes the infected air will die." Rivera felt no guilt about using such a terrible weapon. The HFY had shown no mercy to human children on New Boston. They had deliberately targeted schools and hospitals. They had made it clear that they intended to exterminate humanity completely. Now humanity would respond in kind. "Admiral," said Captain Danny Price from the tactical station, "long-range sensors show that the HFY have concentrated most of their fleet around their home world. They seem to be expecting us to attack there first." Rivera smiled coldly. "They are thinking like conquerors, not like exterminators. They expect us to try to capture their capital and force their government to surrender." "What are our actual orders, sir?" asked Captain Lucas. "We hit all 12 systems simultaneously," Rivera explained. "We are not trying to conquer HFY worlds. We are sterilizing them. Every planet, every space station, every ship in their empire dies today." The bridge went quiet. Everyone understood what they were about to do, but no one questioned it. The images of burning schools on New Boston were burned into every human mind. "Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the HFY homeworld," Captain Lucas reported. "Put it on the main screen." Supreme Commander Zarthok appeared on the display, standing in what looked like a military command center. His red scales seemed brighter than before, and his yellow eyes showed confidence and contempt. "So, the weak mammals have finally found the courage to face us in battle," Zarthok said with a laugh. "We have been waiting for you to come and die like your pathetic colony on New Boston." Rivera stepped forward. "Supreme Commander, I am Admiral Tony Rivera of the United Human Fleet. You have one opportunity to surrender unconditionally and face trial for genocide." "Surrender?" Zarthok roared with laughter. "The mighty HFY Empire surrender to a race of weaklings? We have 3,000 ships protecting our worlds. We have destroyed 7 alien races completely. What makes you think you can succeed where they failed?" "Because we are not trying to survive you," Rivera replied calmly. "We are trying to erase you." Zarthok's laughter stopped. "What do you mean?" "I mean that in 24 hours the HFY Empire will no longer exist. Every ship, every world, every member of your species will be dead. This is not a war for territory or resources. This is extermination." For the first time, Zarthok looked uncertain. "You cannot be serious. No civilized Race fights wars of complete annihilation. You are correct, Rivera said. Civilized races do not fight such wars. But you made a mistake, Supreme Commander. You attacked our children. You targeted our schools and hospitals. You showed us that you are not a civilized race. You are bluffing, Zarthok said, but his voice was less confident. Rivera turned to Captain Price. Danny, show him the biological weapon. On the screen, a small metal container appeared next to Rivera. It was no larger than a drink bottle, but everyone on the Vex High Command Center seemed to recognize what it was. This contains a pathogen designed specifically for Vex High biology, Rivera explained. We have 5,000 of these containers, spread across our fleet. They will be deployed on every Vex High world simultaneously. Zarthok's eyes went wide. Biological weapons are forbidden by galactic law. So is deliberately targeting civilian populations, Rivera replied. So is genocide. So is threatening to enslave entire species. You taught us that galactic law means nothing to those who are strong enough to ignore it. The Federation will never allow you to commit genocide. Rivera smiled without humor. Supreme Commander, the Federation Council unanimously authorized this mission. Every alien race in the galaxy wants your empire destroyed. You have become a threat to every civilized world. This is madness, Zarthok shouted. We can negotiate. We can make peace. You had your chance for peace, Rivera said. Captain Morrison tried to negotiate with you for weeks. You responded by murdering 50,000 innocent humans. The time for negotiation is over. Rivera gestured to Captain Lucas, who began typing commands into her console. Across the galaxy, 1,500 human ships began moving toward 12 different Vex High systems. Supreme Commander, you wanted to see what happens when humans stop being peaceful, Rivera said. You wanted to know if we were really as weak as you thought. Consider this your answer. The transmission ended, and the main screen returned to showing the tactical display. 12 red dots representing Vex High systems, each about to be attacked by overwhelming human forces. All strike. Groups, begin final approach, Rivera ordered. Remember, we are not taking prisoners. We are not accepting surrender. We are eliminating a threat to every peaceful race in the galaxy. Admiral, Dr. Wright said from her station, I am detecting massive Vex High fleet movements. They are pulling ships from all their systems to defend their home world. Let them, Rivera replied. It will make our job easier. The more ships they concentrate in one place, the fewer we have to hunt down later. As the human fleet moved into attack position, Rivera thought about the people of New Boston. Tom Wilson and his daughter Emma, Dr. Rachel Green and her young patients, Governor Helen Blake and Deputy Governor Carl Murphy, who had died protecting children in a school. They had all died because they refused to surrender to alien bullies. They had died believing that the rest of humanity would remember them and make sure their deaths meant something. Today, their deaths would mean the end of the Vex High Empire. All ships, final weapons check, Rivera ordered. In 1 hour, we begin. The systematic destruction of every Vex High world. No survivors, no exceptions, no mercy. Around him, the bridge crew prepared for the largest military operation in human history. It would not be a battle for territory or political control. It would be the complete elimination of an entire alien empire. The Vex High had wanted to see human strength. They had wanted to know what happened when peaceful people were pushed too far. They were about to find out. The attack began at exactly 1200 hours, Galactic Standard Time. Across 12 star systems, human fleets dropped out of faster-than-light travel and immediately opened fire on every Vex-High target they could find. There were no warnings, no demands for surrender, no attempts at negotiation. The orders were simple: destroy everything. Admiral Tony Rivera watched from the bridge of the Vengeance as his fleet engaged the massive Vex-High defensive force around their home world. 300 human ships faced off against 800 alien vessels in the largest space battle in galactic history. "All weapons, fire at will," Rivera ordered. The space around the Vex-High homeworld lit up with energy beams, missile explosions, and the bright flashes of ships being destroyed. But this was not like the old space battles where fleets maneuvered for position and tried to disable enemy ships. The humans fought with ruthless efficiency, targeting life support systems and reactor cores to ensure that every Vex-High ship was not just defeated, but completely destroyed. "Admiral, Strike Group 7 reports that they have eliminated all orbital defenses around Vex-High System 4, Captain Beth Lucas announced from her communications station. "They are beginning planetary bombardment." "What about the civilian population centers?" Rivera asked. "Targeted first, sir, as ordered." Rivera nodded grimly. The humans had learned from New Boston. The Vex-High had shown that they would deliberately target civilians to terrorize their enemies. Humanity's response was to eliminate the Vex-High civilian population before they could be used as weapons against other races. "Admiral, we are receiving surrender signals from multiple Vex-High ships," reported Captain Danny Price from the tactical station. "Ignore them," Rivera said without hesitation. "Continue firing until every ship is destroyed." On the main screen, a Vex-High heavy cruiser was sending out white light signals, the universal sign of surrender. Human ships responded by focusing their fire on the cruiser's bridge and engine sections. Within seconds, the alien ship exploded in a ball of flame. "Sir, some of the other Federation ships are questioning our orders," Captain Lucas said. "The Kethri captain is asking why we are not accepting surrender." Rivera activated the fleet communication system. "All Federation allies, this is Admiral Rivera. I want to remind you that the Vex-High Empire has never accepted surrender from any of their enemies. 7 alien races tried to surrender to them, and were exterminated anyway. We are simply treating them the way they have treated others." The questioning stopped. Every race in the Federation knew the stories of the 7 extinct civilizations. They understood that this was not a normal war, but a necessary extermination. "Admiral, Dr. Wright reports that the biological weapons have been successfully deployed on all Vex-High worlds," Captain Price announced. "Atmospheric distribution is proceeding according to plan. Time until full planetary coverage? 18 hours for complete saturation. Any Vex-High breathing the atmosphere after that point will be dead within 6 hours." Rivera looked at the tactical display showing all 12 Vex-High systems. Red indicators were turning black as Vex-High positions were destroyed one by one. In System 2, Captain Sandra Miller's strike group had eliminated an entire Vex-High fleet without losing a single human ship. In System 7, Colonel Mark Foster's ground forces were systematically destroying Vex-High military installations on the surface of their colony worlds. "Admiral, we are getting a priority transmission from the Vex-High home world," Captain Lucas reported. "It is coming from Supreme Commander Zarthok personally." "Put him on screen." Zarthok appeared, but he looked very different from before. His red scales were pale, and his yellow eyes showed fear instead of arrogance. Behind him, the Vex-High command center was in chaos, with alarms blaring and smoke filling the air. "Admiral Rivera," Zarthok said, his voice shaking, "I am prepared to discuss terms for ending this conflict." "There are no terms," Rivera replied calmly. Your empire ends today. Please, you must listen to reason. We can withdraw from all conquered territories. We can pay reparations for New Boston. We can become a peaceful race. Rivera looked at the Supreme Commander with cold hatred. You had the chance to be peaceful when Captain Morrison first contacted you. You chose to threaten human colonies instead. You had the chance to be reasonable when President Cooper offered to negotiate. You chose to murder 50,000 innocent people instead. That was a military necessity, Zarthok protested. We had to show strength. No, Rivera said. You targeted schools and hospitals because you are a race of cowards who thought that terrorizing civilians would make us afraid. You were wrong. On the tactical display, the number of surviving Vex-High ships continued to drop. 800 had become 600, then 400, then 200. The Vex-High fleet was being systematically destroyed. Admiral, Dr. Wright called out from her science station, I am detecting massive life sign failures on Vex-High worlds. 4, 7, and 9. The biological weapon is working faster than expected. Any sign of resistance or adaptation? None, sir. Their immune systems have no defense against a pathogen designed specifically for their biology. Zarthok seemed to hear this conversation through the communication link. His face showed complete terror. You are committing genocide. The galaxy will never forgive you. The galaxy asked us to do this, Rivera replied. Every member of the Federation Council voted to authorize the complete destruction of your empire. You have become a threat to every peaceful race in known space. We can change. We can learn to be peaceful. Rivera shook his head. Supreme Commander, your empire has existed for over 300 years. In that time, you have conquered 12 star systems and exterminated 7 alien races. You have never shown mercy, never accepted surrender, and never demonstrated any capacity for peace. Why would we believe you can change now? Because we are dying, Zarthok shouted desperately. Our worlds are being poisoned. Our fleets are being destroyed. Our people are becoming extinct. Yes, Rivera said simply. Just like the Helnry people. Just like the Takway people. Just like the Mortian people and the 4 other races you exterminated completely. The only difference is that we are doing it faster. The communication link showed explosions in the background as human ships continued their bombardment of the Vex-High home world. Zarthok's command center was clearly being hit by orbital weapons fire. This is not justice, Zarthok screamed. This is revenge. You are correct, Rivera admitted. This is revenge for New Boston. This is revenge for 50,000 murdered humans. This is revenge for every peaceful race that your empire has threatened or destroyed. Future generations will remember this as humanity's greatest crime. Rivera leaned forward, his expression cold as space. Supreme Commander, there will be no future generations of Vex-High to remember anything. That is the point. The transmission cut off as the Vex-High command center was destroyed by a direct hit from human weapons. On the tactical display, the indicator for Supreme Commander Zarthok changed from active to eliminated. Admiral, all Vex-High fleet resistance has ended, Captain Price reported. We are beginning final bombardment of their remaining planetary installations. What about civilian shelters? Being targeted with biological weapons and bunker-buster missiles, sir. We are not leaving any survivors. Rivera nodded. He felt no satisfaction in what they were doing, but he felt no guilt either. The Vex-High had chosen this path when they decided to murder human children. They had made themselves a threat to every peaceful race in the galaxy. "Admiral, final report from all strike groups," Captain Lucas announced. "Vex High Systems 1 through 12 have been completely sterilized. No surviving ships, no surviving installations, no surviving population centers. The biological weapon has achieved full planetary saturation on all worlds." Rivera looked at the tactical display one last time, where 12 red dots had once shown. The mighty Vex High Empire. There were now 12 black dots showing dead systems. An entire alien civilization had been erased from existence in less than 24 hours. "Send a message to Earth," Rivera ordered. "Tell President Cooper that the Vex High Empire has been eliminated. Tell him that New Boston has been avenged." As the human fleet began to withdraw from the dead Vex High systems, Rivera thought about the future. The galaxy would remember this day as the moment when humanity showed what happened to races that threatened human children. No alien empire would ever again make the mistake of thinking that humans were weak because they chose peace. The Vex High had learned that lesson, but they had learned it too late to survive. The last race that provoked humanity had been wiped from the stars. 5 years had passed since the destruction of the Vex High Empire. Captain Jake Morrison stood once again on the bridge of the Pathfinder, but the galaxy around him had changed completely. His ship was no longer just an exploration vessel. It now carried advanced weapons systems alongside its diplomatic equipment. The universe had learned that even peaceful humans needed to be ready for war. "Captain, we are approaching the Zephyrian system," reported navigator Lisa Park from her station. She had stayed with Morrison through the war and the difficult years that followed. Like everyone else, she was older now and more careful about trusting new alien races. "Any response to our diplomatic signals?" Morrison asked. "Yes, sir," replied Communications Officer Amy Carter. "They are sending a formal welcome and requesting permission to send a small escort to guide us to their home world." Morrison nodded. This was how first contact worked now. After the Vex High War, no alien race took chances with unknown ships entering their territory. Everyone remembered what had happened to the Empire that had thought it could threaten humanity, without consequences. "Permission granted. Tell them we appreciate their courtesy." As the Pathfinder moved deeper into Zephyrian space, Morrison remembered his last mission to this region 5 years ago. He had been returning from the failed diplomatic contact with the Vex High when the war began. He had watched from his ship as the entire human civilization transformed from peaceful explorers into efficient exterminators. The change had been terrifying and amazing at the same time. "Captain, the Zephyrian escort is arriving," Lisa announced. On the main screen, 3 sleek alien ships appeared. They were beautiful vessels with curved hulls and bright blue energy fields. But Morrison noticed that they also carried heavy weapons and kept their shields raised, even when escorting a peaceful diplomatic mission. "This is Captain Morrison of the human vessel Pathfinder," he said into the communications system. "Thank you for the escort." "This is Commander Veltar of the Zephyrian Republic Fleet," came the reply in perfect human language. "It is an honor to meet humans in person. We have heard many stories about your people." Morrison smiled, but it was not a completely happy smile. He knew what stories the Zephyrians had heard. Every race in the galaxy knew about the Vex High War. They knew about New Boston, and they knew about humanity's response. The escort led them to a beautiful blue-green world that reminded Morrison of Earth. As they entered orbit, he could see cities on the surface that looked peaceful and prosperous. The Zephyrians had built a civilization based on art, science, and philosophy. They were exactly the kind of people that humans used to meet before the war. Captain, we are receiving an invitation to meet with the Zephyrian Council, Amy reported. They are asking if you would prefer to meet on their planet or in space. Tell them I will be honored to visit their world. 2 hours later, Morrison stood in a beautiful council chamber made of crystal and flowing water. Around him sat 12 Zephyrian leaders who looked like tall, graceful humanoids with silver skin and large blue eyes. They were clearly intelligent and peaceful people. Captain Morrison, said the lead counselor, a female named Sarah Lynn, we want to thank you for coming to our system. It is rare for us to meet humans face to face. The pleasure is mine, Morrison replied. The Federation is always interested in meeting new races and learning about their cultures. Yes, we have heard about the Federation, said another counselor, an elderly male named Kethron. We have also heard about what happened to the last race that threatened Federation members. The room became quiet. Morrison had been expecting this topic to come up, but it was still uncomfortable to discuss. The Vexhai Empire made some unfortunate choices, Morrison said carefully. They chose to attack innocent civilians instead of pursuing peaceful solutions. Sarah Lynn leaned forward. Captain Morrison, may I ask you a personal question? Of course. Were you afraid when your people decided to destroy an entire alien civilization? Did you worry that humanity was becoming as violent as the races you fought against? Morrison thought about this question for a long moment. It was something he had wondered about many times over the past 5 years. Yes, he said finally. I was afraid, not of the Vexhai, but of what we might become. When I first met Supreme Commander Zarthok, I still believed that any problem could be solved through patient negotiation. And now? Asked Kethron. Now I understand that some problems cannot be solved peacefully. The Vexhai had destroyed 7 alien races completely before they met us. They targeted human children deliberately. They made it clear that they would never accept any solution except the total submission or extermination of every other race. Sarah Lynn nodded slowly. So you believe your response was justified? Morrison looked around the beautiful council chamber, thinking about all the peaceful alien races he had met over the years. Races like the Zephyrians, who built art and pursued knowledge instead of conquest. I believe our response was necessary, he said, not just for humanity, but for every peaceful race in the galaxy. The Vexhai Empire was a threat to everyone, who chose cooperation over conquest. But surely there could have been another way, suggested a younger counselor. Perhaps if you had tried longer to negotiate. Counselor, Morrison said gently, we tried to negotiate for weeks. Their response was to murder 50,000 innocent people, including children in schools and patients in hospitals. They made it clear that negotiation was not possible. The room was quiet again. Finally, Sarah Lynn spoke. Captain Morrison, there is something we need to tell you. The reason we asked for this meeting is not just about establishing diplomatic relations with humanity. What do you mean? Kethron activated a holographic display that showed a map of local space. 3 months ago, we were contacted by a race called the Drakmar Collective. They control 8 star systems near our territory, and they have been expanding aggressively for the past 50 years. Morrison felt a familiar chill. What did they want? They demanded that we surrender half of our territory to them and provide them with tribute payments every year, Sarah Lynn explained. When we refused, they said they would take our worlds by force. Have they attacked you? Not yet. But Captain Morrison, When we told them that we were seeking Federation membership and human protection, they laughed at us. They said that humans only fought the Vexhi because the Vexhi were weak. They said that when they destroy our world, humanity will not dare to intervene. Morrison looked at the holographic display showing Drakmar territory. 8 star systems, probably hundreds of billions of alien lives. If the Drakmar were anything like the Vexhi, they would not be satisfied with conquering just the Zephyrians. Counselor Sarah Lynn, Morrison said, what exactly are you asking of humanity? We are asking you to tell the galaxy something, she replied. We are asking you to make it clear that the HFY War was not a single event, but a promise. A promise that any race which threatens peaceful civilizations will face the same fate. Morrison understood. The Zephyrians were not just asking for protection. They were asking humanity to maintain its reputation as the race that would destroy anyone who threatened innocent people. I will send your request to Earth, Morrison said, but I think I can tell you what the answer will be. What do you think President Cooper will say? Morrison thought about the man who had ordered the complete extermination of the Vexhi Empire. Cooper was still president, and he had never shown any regret about his decision to destroy an entire alien civilization. I think he will ask me to deliver a message to the Drakmar Collective, Morrison said. A very simple message. What message? Morrison looked directly at Sarah Lynn. He will tell them that humanity protects its friends, and that the last race that threatened peaceful people was wiped from the stars. Around the council chamber, the Zephyrians smiled with relief. They understood that humanity had not returned to being purely peaceful after the war. Humans were still willing to build friendships and pursue cooperation, but they were also ready to destroy anyone who threatened innocent lives. The galaxy had learned an important lesson from the fate of the Vexhi Empire. Humans chose peace whenever possible, but when peace was not possible, humans chose total victory. No one would ever again make the mistake of thinking that human kindness was the same as human weakness. The Vexhi had taught the galaxy that peaceful people could be the most dangerous enemies of all, and that lesson would never be forgotten.